Hey guys, Ray here with Corn Dog Caravan. Today we are doing a very simple oil change in our Ram Promaster we call Lotus. If you're not a subscriber already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you want to get updates on the channel. Today's video, like I said, I'm doing a very simple oil change. I want to make this really simple to watch. Hopefully it's a little bit of an enjoyment. It's an oil change, but hey, I want to make this so that if you're timid about doing an oil change, you'll lose that, I guess, just fear of touching the engine and making a wrong step. So we'll go through the simple steps and we'll get started. The items you're going to need really for the oil change is going to be your oil, one tool, which is the Crescent wrench to take off the oil filter cap. Speaking of oil filters, I'm using the MOPAR M0349. You can actually get this at most of your AutoZone locations. They, for some reason, stock a few MOPAR products. I use that. I've also seen guys use the Wix brand and had really good success. If you're fearful about your warranty, then stick with your MOPAR parts, but MOPAR, Wix, really they're all good filters. Now when it comes time to drain the oil, you're going to need to have some kind of container. Since we're on the road full time, now today I am at my father-in-law's house, so it makes it a little bit easier, but we simply just use an older water jug that we kind of rotate through. So usually by the time we've used this jug over and over and over using our Berkey, it's time to use it for the oil change. Ram Promaster holds 5.5 quarts, so I'll use this and then another empty, and then we'll dispose of it somewhere like AutoZone. It's real easy and cheap. Actually, it's free at AutoZone to dump the oil and filter. So we're gonna go underneath. Now, we'll say my oil change is much easier because years ago, after my first oil change, I installed the Fumato drain valve and also installed a permanent tube, drain tube. So simply all I'm going to have to do is just crawl underneath, put my drain catch, and then drop the tube inside, open the valve, and then it'll drain on its own. And then I'll loosen the top cap just to give the air a little bit so the oil can drain through a little bit quicker, and then loosen the oil cap while we're waiting for the oil to drain. Okay guys, so as you can see, we are underneath the van. I do not have it jacked up at all, so this is, I mean, it can't be simpler. What you'll notice here is my Fumato drain valve. It has a protective little cap that keeps the valve lever from moving. I also installed a permanent tube, you see here in the video, that I'm going to drop into my oil catch. Whether you have a drain, drain pan or whatever you want to use is up to you. Just make it, simple. Because we do these so often out in the middle of nowhere, I want to try to keep it clean. So I do have a piece of plastic down just to protect the asphalt here. So simply I'm just going to put my 1 gallon milk jug, water jug, on my catch. But before I do that, I'm going to take the little cap off. That way it's right here. So it just comes off. So keep that, don't lose that. And that just keeps the valve little lever from moving. So next, I'm going to slide this up. And position this so that it doesn't fall over. I may have to move the camera, but you can kind of see how it works. Okay, so with the slight reposition, jug right here so it's completely inside, and then simply I just lift this little lever, spring lever, and twist it down, and then in a moment you might see the tube in the camera getting dark. Yeah, there you go. We are starting to drain now. I may change the tube that I have attached. It's a little small so the drain's slow. I don't care how fast it is. I've got nothing but time. Now, while that's draining, I'm going to go ahead and take the oil fill cap, loosen it so that the air gets into the engine. It just helps drain a little bit faster. Let's go up top. Okay, so I should also say, since I have the Fumato drain valve, if you're doing this for the first time, I would recommend getting that same valve. I'll put the part number in the description below, and you can buy that wherever you want to buy it, Amazon or whatever you want to do. I'm not trying to sell anything here, but what I will say is if you don't use it, then you will need to take the drain plug out of the pan. I believe it's a 12 millimeter. I'll have to put maybe that in the description below. I took that out and then that valve replaces it, so I never have to take the valve, the drain plug in and out. So let's go ahead and put a little air to the engine, let that oil drain a little bit faster. So we're going to come right here So if you're at the front of the engine, here's your fresh air intake and there's your filter. We're actually going to do a video on replacing that guy because he's a little dirty from driving out in the desert west. Also, while I'm right here, might be a good idea. I love to call this the ice tray, the ice cube tray, because if you're in cold conditions, this will get water in it just from rain, anything else. This will fill up and create little ice. But maybe a thing to do, I've wiped mine clean good, but pull this loose. I had probably a pound of New Mexico and Arizona dust in this little crevice. So clean that out, maybe, I don't know, every 6 months or when you do our oil change, just little cleanup items. So here's your drain cap. Loosen that. And I'm just going to loosen it. I'm just going to leave it in place, that way nothing can fall into it. And then right here is where we're going to do the oil filter. Now, this is a one-tool job. You can use a socket with a short handle. I just use a little crescent wrench. If you can see this, you might have to make a final adjustment to get it in here. Now, I will say I am a lefty, so using my left hand's gonna be, but yeah, just put the wrench on and then just, the oil filter cap has a little O-ring inside that will replace, that comes with your filter as well. Eventually I'll replace this with the Dorman aluminum cap and housing. Because this is one of the known items that if you over torque this cap, the plastic housing right here can get a little, I guess maybe just a vertical hairline crack here. Can't really see because of the video camera, but yeah, so I'll replace that eventually. Now once you've gotten that loosened and maybe just a couple of turns with the wrench, then at that point you can reach in and then just twist this. Let me get the camera in. And just turn it by hand and then loosen it. Now when you take this out, the filter usually comes out with the cap because it clicks into it. So just be kind of, you know, maybe have maybe a clean towel hand, close by just to catch any oil drips. Also, good idea, before you even do this, I wiped down as much as I could of the oil cap just to keep any dust and dirt from possibly getting into the opening once you take the filter cap off and pull the filter out. So I'll pull this back out. So wipe out as much area as you can. You don't have to overkill it, but just prevention. And as you can see here, in just a few short minutes, it's already drained probably about 2.5 quarts. Again, if I increase the diameter of the drain tube I'm using, it would flow a lot faster. In just a few minutes, I'll exchange the 1 gallon jug with another one, just so we don't overflow. Alright, so I'm going to take out the oil filter cap, which also has a filter attached, and I'm going to show you a little trick I have. So what I like to do is I take a Ziploc bag, turn it inside out and use my hand, and then when I take the filter out, I can drop it right into the Ziploc, pull the filter off, and that way I keep my hands clean. I guess I could use a glove, but hey, why? Okay, so I take the filter out, just in my little Ziploc, pull this up around, pop that out of the cap, place that so it doesn't fall on the ground. So there's my filter in the bag, zip it up, and put it in my disposal tray. Alright, now here on the filter cap, you'll see right here there is a little O-ring right here. Now this is probably where my fingers are going to get dirty, so I'll try to minimize that. Get a little wipe up here. So what I like to do with my paper towel or other is I like to kind of pinch the side of the O-ring on the side and push up towards the top, which then will take tension off the O-ring here. And then once that's out of the groove, just roll it off to the outer edge, and then we'll replace that because it comes with the new filter. So there's the O-ring. It is off. Now the O-ring is off. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean out the groove really well, get that clear of any contaminants. Sorry if we got a little wind noise today, guys. And then you'll see inside the cap, that's where the oil, the oil filter goes in and clicks into, right in there. Do a little wipe out. Not necessary, but I just like to keep things clean. Make sure if you do that, get any contaminants you have out. So yeah. So there is the groove that the O-ring goes into right here. That's where the oil filter clicks into. And I'll take the camera down into the socket where the filter goes into in a second. This would be a good time if you can see down right in here. That would be a good time to inspect down the side to see if you got any cracks. I'm sure it would be so hard to see a hairline crack, but just give it a visual. Maybe do a little cleanup if you need to. And then that's where the filter goes in. All right, so with all my rambling on, I just realized, oh yeah, I need to check the 1 gallon jug. So as you'll see here, we are getting close to being full. We're probably about 3.5 quarts of used engine oil. And so what I'll do is I'm going to close the valve on my drain line, let the drain tube kind of empty out, and then we'll pull this out and then replace it with another jug. Now, sorry for the angle, but I do want to show you when it's time to shut off the valve. Literally just push up and then turn that back up that way, and that shuts off the valve. All right, so let's get out the new filter, the M0 or MO349 MOPAR. And that is a new filter. And again, this part goes down. There's a little O-ring at the end here. And then the oil cap actually fits into that hole here. Inside your box will be 1 O-ring. It's always a good idea. I'd say it's always a good idea when you're buying these at the store. Just check inside, make sure it's in there. Hopefully it either didn't get left out at the manufacturing or someone in the store didn't walk off with it. Now what you will want to do with this is you want to put a little bit of clean oil, either dip this into your oil container, with clean oil, rub it a little bit on here so it is just lubed when you put it into the cap and everything goes. Same thing, I would also put a little oil on your fingertip and just rub this little tip right here. So we'll do that next. And while we're talking about oil and oil changes, let's talk about oil. So I go between either using the Mobil 1 full synthetic or the Pennzoil. I picked this up at Walmart yesterday for I think about $26, $27. You'll need 5.5 quarts for the fluid change. So what you'll need to do is get a 5-quarter and then just get a little single. Not a bad thing to have on the road, just in case you need a little top off or somebody else needs it. But you're going to be using the 5W weight 20, 5W20 full synthetic. I'm using the platinum. And what you want to do on any oil you use, on the back, try to get in focus here, you'll want to use the Chrysler MS6395 standard. So whether you use Pennzoil, Valvoline, Mobil, just make sure you've got that specific code. This is, I think, my 8th or 9th oil change. So I'm doing this about every 6,000 miles ish. We We do a lot of highway, but we also do some mountain driving, so you can make your own decision when you want to do it. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to also show you how to reset the maintenance minder too. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take that brand new oil ring and I'm just going to dip it into here, get a little oil on it. Nice and clean, synthetic. Don't drop it inside because you probably won't get it out. Kind of pull that out. Got a little bit of coating, and I'll just wipe that with my fingers, and then we'll slip it back on the cap. Alright, so I've got the oil ring here on the cap. Set over to the side for a second. I lubed up the oil filter, the little O-ring here, and simply just come to the housing here, drop that in, and when you place that in, you can push it in, you'll feel a little click. You'll even kind of hear it. So that's in place, and then I'm just going to hit it with my cap, put that in. Now, a couple of years ago, on, I don't know, maybe my third or fourth oil change, I decided to put a little mark here on the plastic. You can use a little piece of white paint, whatever you want to use is up to you. But it just helps me so that once I've gotten this tightened down to where I think it's pretty much snug, you can still see there's a slight gap here, about maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'll cinch that down with my socket or my Crescent wrench. But you want to make sure that you definitely don't want to over tighten it. And if you are taking it to a shop, maybe like an Oil Express, whatever, definitely after the change is done, your oil change is done, come out and inspect it. Look and see. I mean, it could probably crack anywhere, but definitely look and see if you find oil residue, and then kind of keep an eye on the engine maybe for the first maybe 100 miles. Come over to the transmission side, look on top of the transmission to see if you see a big puddle of oil, maybe right down in there. So it's always just good to check. That way you'll know if you got a leak. Alright, so I got the cap back in. Probably took about maybe 3 rotations of the cap to get it back in. And then right near the end, you'll feel it kind of just stop. You'll just kind of know if you've done this before or turned a wrench before. But you'll hear a little bit of clicking as you go in. That's probably the oil ring seating into its position, getting tight. And then I even just kind of put my finger right at the edge, and I can see that the gap is now gone. And what you will see here, possibly in the video, right here, I put a scratch with a little screwdriver for my mark, and when I get it to the point where I'm going to stop turning, it's always right where I left it. So it's a good little visual, maybe for helping those that are a little timid on doing this. So that is now tightened down. I don't have to do anything here. My oil cap here is still here and loose. That sucker is dirty, so I'll tighten that back down and do a quick little wipe down around the outside here just to keep any dust from getting down inside. And then we'll fill it up. Alright, so I have completed the final step. I've drained all the oil. I've secured the valve, put the cap back in so that the valve can't move, you know, the little level arm. So now we are going to add oil. I've gone ahead and I've got a little oil funnel. Another idea, if you don't have a funnel, if you have an extra 1 quart little oil can, you can cut it in half and then use the one side with the spout as a funnel and just use that to pour it in. I showed that actually in my transmission video. If you haven't seen that, check that out. We did that out in Wyoming last, I guess, early fall. And then also too, be watching. I'm going to do an upcoming video on replacing the engine air filter, which is right under here, and then also just the simple little air cabin filter that I think you replace that at maybe 20,000 miles. Same for the air intake. It's either 20 or 40. I like to do it at 20, so just so the engine just breathes as easy as it can. So I've got my funnel down in here. Probably have to kind of keep a hold on that, and then I'll just add my first 5 quarts of oil. So now I'm just adding that extra little half quart. All right guys, so that is a wrap. I've got everything bundled up down below. I've got the valve turned off, everything tucked up where it needs to go. Disposed of my oil. Double checked everything, no drips, no runs, no airs. Filled up the oil, 5.5 quarts. Check the fluid levels, I'm all good there. So we are done. Now the only thing I've got to do next is just reset the oil light inside. So whether your indicator at the dash is telling you to change the oil, or if you're doing it before it tells you, make sure you do it. Also too, if you do have anybody do the oil change for you, what I would recommend is really watch your mileage, because if you're about 1,000 miles in and all of a sudden now you're getting an indicator, that means whoever did your oil change forgot to reset it. So simply come inside your van, and what we're going to do, I'm going to just turn this around. So you're going to put the key in to the first and turn to the first position, and within 10 seconds press the gas pedal fully to the floor. 3, turn it back off, and now start the engine. And that resets the oil. If you like what you saw, give us a like. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Send us a question if you have any questions about the oil install, and also upcoming videos I'll be doing on the air intake and the cabin filter. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey, what are you doing in there? You're still watching?